Hey,
Hello,
doctor.
hello.
Yes. It is so wonderful to end this week, and I can, I can dance on this week. I'm so excited about this week. One of the things that came up this week that really, really caught my attention. So I'm like a big proponent of getting the word out there because I'm just so excited to have a sister at the head of this whole vaccine project. But yes,
Mm.
honey, yes. But one of the things that's come up that I realized it doesn't matter for our community, huh? People are like, we don't really care if it's a sister at the head or not. We're not gonna take that vaccine. So I really wanted to hear what your experiences are like as you guys are professional women of color. We have a unique experience in our prospective careers. And I felt like it is time for us to really talk about this topic because it is so pervasive in so many different ways. And this week was just a reminder of, yeah, our struggle is real. Or maybe it's not a struggle. Maybe your experience is not a struggle. So I want to know, like, what is it like being a woman of color, healthcare professional?
You have come with these loaded questions, Dr.
Yeah, like you taking it like
I need a
Jesus.
pre-test. I
Well,
need an
first of
outline.
all,
Chastity working the muscles already.
Right, like I'm already. It's the first question. I'm already. Okay. What's this muscle right here?
well,
What is
I would
this?
definitely say I would definitely I'll start off. I don't mind jumping in my own fire. So I'll
Okay.
jump in my own
Lead
fire.
us out.
So one of the things I find really, really interesting is that I get so many different perspectives of people walk when I walk into the exam room, right? So I walk into an exam room and it's a woman of color and I primarily treat the Latina population. And so I'll walk in and I'll either get the response of, "Ooh, all right, it's a sister. Like, I see you, girl. I see you." You know how we give each other that eye, like, "I see you, girl. I
Mhm.
see you." So sometimes I get that response. And then sometimes, not as often, but sometimes I do get the response like, "You know how to take care of me? You know what you're
Oh.
doing?
Mhm.
What school
Mm.
you went to?" And so I really do get a varied response, and I appreciate it all because I know it's coming from a place that is relevant, right? And
Mhm.
so the experience of a black woman coming to see me after she's had probably several mishaps with healthcare, with our healthcare system, I understand the folded arms and the toot and the tilted head and the like, what you got to do for me. I get it. I get it. But sometimes I feel like because I work with the underserved, and that is by choice. I love working with the underserved, and that's been my dedication for my entire life. It's not just my career; it's my life. And sometimes you get looked at like, "Oh, so I get the doctor that didn't make it," kind of like a response,
Mm.
which is, yeah, yeah. Check check my resume. But I'm teasing. No, but still,
Double
like,
check it.
Check it.
Double check it.
Yeah,
Check it.
yeah.
I know you.
but you
Get
do
Check
get
it.
that response where they feel like they're automatically getting. Some people do feel like because they go to a clinic, because they're in an underserved population, that they're automatically getting subpar care. And I get it.
Mhm.
I totally get that because in some ways they have gotten subpar care, and the studies have shown this. Statistics show that. So, what have your experiences been like? That's been my experience. What is yours like?
Ooh. Well, I not just in for me, I always try to show up authentically chastity, regardless of what room I'm stepping in. But what I will say is, uh, for a long time, I was always the youngest person. So when I was 23, I graduated with my grad degree from NYU, and I got this big old job. And I was like the youngest person. Then I was like the only woman, and then I was like the youngest person on the board. So it's been different, different types of rooms that I've walked into where I've constantly had to prove myself, or I thought I had to prove myself. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always on, for me as a Black professional woman, I'm always on high alert. And even so, I'm always body conscious because the job, one of the jobs that I had, I
Mm-hmm.
worked at the sheriff's department, downtown LA,
Mm-hmm.
the inmate reception center. So I would do mental health assessments on inmates
Mm-hmm.
to determine where they're housed.
Mhm.
So, hey, I got TNA, okay? And I try to keep it, you know, try to keep it covered, try to be professional. But when you
Mhm.
show up in this world as a Black woman,
Mhm.
100%, organic, no GMOs,
Mhm.
nothing. I didn't go to the local store to get my, all of that. But
No
it's when
GMO.
you show up in a world like this, my fear is being over sexualized,
Mm.
or the men that will come to the window when I'm doing my mental health assessment, like, you're in jail, you're asking me, like, so you got a date, like, who you dating, where we gonna go, huh? We go here in the corner in jail, you in jail, where you gonna take me, like, you in jail, with you worrying about my body and things like that. So being
Mhm.
over sexualized,
Mhm.
even when you're dressed to the nines for work, like, the usher outfit, like when you used to go to church, you got the black slacks, the white, the white shirt. I'm covered, but things still poke out. So my thing is showing up myself, but then being sexualized, objectified, but then also, does she know what she's doing? Because I get the head nod, just like you, Tasca. When people say, I was walking down the street and I had my NYU shirt on, this white dude was like, the older white guy was like, so NYU, uh, like, damn, I don't even know you, but
Mm.
okay, yeah, NYU.
Right.
And I almost went Ohio, and I'm like, I almost got Brooklyn / Ohio, like, yeah, yeah, NYU.
And what?
And what?
But I
That's
used
the
to, I used to,
Brooklynite. And what?
right. I used to be really fearful, or trying
Mhm.
to make myself small. Like, but yeah, God damn it, I went to NYU and I'm proud of that.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm still paying for it. So if you got an issue, I mean, you can see the receipts if you want to help me
Yes.
pay for it.
Exactly.
So,
Mhm.
I made myself small so that, mm, people would know that, like, damn, I was worth it, or I know what I'm doing. Like, how you
Mhm.
have to, your resume has to show up before you do
Mhm.
that part, and making yourself
Everybody,
seem
us.
right, and making
Mhm.
yourself seem human, making yourself seem worth it. Like, yeah, I
Right.
deserve to be at this table.
Right.
I don't wish to show up like that anymore,
Right.
but it's a
I,
struggle. So, but yeah, that's my.
We do have to prove more. We absolutely do. Mhm.
I never felt as Black as I have since becoming a midwife.
Mm.
Um, I
That's
mean,
interesting because you're biracial. So explain or bi-ethnic. What's the right? I don't even know the right term, but you know what I'm saying. So explain that to us.
um, midwifery, at least in the United States and in the state of California, has predominantly been white when you're talking about nurse midwives for a long time.
Mhm.
And so I came into it working in the underserved population, and here I am all of a sudden Black and Mexican working in downtown Los Angeles with Black and Mexican people. And for the first time in my life, my ethnicity and my race was like a good thing. People were like, oh, here's this exotic person. And I'm not really exotic. I'm a product of LA, Black and Mexican, right? I'm not from Panama. I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm Black and Mexican. Um, and so, like, for the first time, it was like this desired thing. And it's like, you, Task, I'd walk into an exam room, and more often than not, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
you gonna see me today? But what I really felt was that people were very aware of the fact that I was like a token, and I didn't really know how I felt
Mhm.
about that. Like some days I was like, I'll be that token person. Sure, it helps me get a move on in my career. Like fine. But then there were other times it's like I'm more than just that. And I also, being in a practice of mostly white women, I never became so aware of my weight. I've always struggled with weight. And all of a sudden, being with thin white women and people who were so health conscious, and then teaching women in pregnancy, Black and Latina women who tend to never fit into this mold,
Mhm.
uh, telling them about their weight and their BMIs, all of a sudden I felt like here I am, this walking embodiment of the people we're serving who are the underserved. But I
Mhm.
didn't grow up in an underserved situation. So
Mhm.
it was like this weird space to be in, that really did affect me. I, got pregnant maybe 3 years into it and felt, really self-conscious about the fact that I was this overweight Black and Latina woman who was pregnant for the second time. And at this time, it was 2018, it's 2017, and at that time all the research came out about how Black women are more at risk for death and having,
Mhm.
underweight babies and prematurity. And so here I am in this practice, really the only Black midwife, right? and
Mhm.
Latina, and sitting there. Now I've become the token again because it's like, oh, Olivia, how do you feel about that? Well, bitch, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm scared, or I don't know. Like, of course, I check off all the boxes, right? I'm diabetic, I'm black, I'm overweight, I'm not the like, I don't
Right,
know. But
right.
it was this strange place of feeling like I worked for a
Mm,
company that I felt really loved me.
mm,
I just wasn't sure if it was always for the right reasons, and I wasn't sure how I
mm,
felt about that. But I was
mm,
always very supported,
mhm,
very taken care of, and really encouraged as a midwife. So I really came into myself as this strong, amazing midwife.
mhm.
Um, like this, I don't know.
Right,
It's very,
right.
very strange. It
Yeah,
was
but it is a it is, I mean, you do see both sides of the spectrum. You do have diverse experiences of positive and negative, or positive and challenging.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Has your ethnicity caused you to have any further insight into your patient's struggle,
Yeah.
Eunice?
Oh,
Oh no, you can, if you want to take that, you
no,
can
Eunice,
absolutely.
Eunice.
No, finish. You could. Olivia can finish answering. Go ahead, Olivia.
Share your
I
thought.
No,
Yeah. Go
y'all
ahead,
know
man.
I like to
Finish your
talk. Go
thought.
ahead, Eunice. Go ahead. No, I ain't got no thoughts. I,
Finish your thought because
I ain't got no thoughts.
it's all pertinent. It's all,
No, go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I've
Go ahead.
had similar experiences.
Yeah, no, go ahead, girl. Go ahead. I'll talk again later.
Well, I have. Unfortunately, I have. I've experienced a lot of people not taking me seriously in my profession because one, I'm Latina. Two, I'm petite, I'm attractive, I'm pretty, and people focus on that more than what I can bring to the table. I've been told many times,
Mm,
like, why are you doing this? Why are you a therapist? Why are you in this field? Why are you in the helping field? Why didn't you do something else? Like pretty petite Latinas can't do this kind of work. I've had a
mm,
colleague of mine that was another minority man when I used to work for the probation department. At that time, I was like 25, had just gotten my undergrad. I hadn't decided yet to go to grad school, but I was already doing case management with the probation department with youth at risk youth. And this other minority colleague who was a probation officer said, I guess he thought he was giving me a compliment, but he said, "Oh, how old are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm 25 going on 26." And he said, "Oh, wow, I'm surprised you're not on your third baby by now. You know how you Latinas have kids and don't focus on education." And he's like, "Good for you." And I just was like so offended. Like here he was thinking, giving me a compliment. And
mm,
at the same time, it was so offensive because he was basically perpetuating a stereotype that
mm,
Latinas, that women of color, we don't get education, we don't pursue higher degrees. And good for me for not getting pregnant with 3 kids by the time of 25. In grad school, I had another experience when I was in my clinical internship. I was interning at Rady's Children's Hospital in San Diego. That was my it was a very coveted internship because to work at the Children's Hospital, Rady's, which is very prestigious, it was hard to get in, but I got in because I was awarded a state scholarship for mental health. I was working in El Cajon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with El Cajon, but it's East County, San Diego. East County, San Diego is very rural and it's very white and it's very poor.
mhm,
So I was going to different schools that Radius was sending me to do assessments for children that were being referred to the hospital. I was going into the schools, and one of the mothers of one of the kids I was doing an assessment, she was Caucasian, and she was like, "Oh," she was like, "I didn't know we had a Mexican therapist." Um, so
mhm,
and I'm half Mexican, and my mother's Central American from Honduras. So I didn't know at that moment. I know what she meant, but like, it took me a while to process what she meant. Like, did she not
What
feel
did
that
she
as
mean?
a
What did you think she meant, by the way?
I think she was taken aback that she had this young Latina woman who she perceived as Mexican to be her child's therapist. And it kind of felt like, for me, it felt like, did she think I was competent enough? Like, did
Mm,
she questioned like my skill set? Like, here I am, this woman,
mhm,
a color coming in to treat her son. And she questioned, are you going to be able to provide my son with the proper treatment that he needs?
mm,
I really like
So
that you said it took you a while to process that, because I think there are so many times when people say things
mhm,
and then later you're like, wait a minute.
yeah.
Like, I was interviewing a patient once and the lady asked me for references and I was doing home birth, and I looked at her and I was like, like professional references? And she said, no, patient references. Like, did patients like the work you did? I said, that's funny. Would you ask that of a physician
Mm.
ever? But it's like you said, processing what people say, like, what? I'm confused a lot of the time.
Mm.
So yeah, so I've had a lot of experiences, even working at public mental health, where I've been at for 4.5 years in Skid Row
Mm.
for public mental health for the
Mm.
county. I've had a lot of patients that have requested a change of provider, and the reason is she looks young, she looks
Oh.
inexperienced, and I think I'd be better with the white male doctor is what they request.
Damn, I'm offended. Ain't nobody ever left me because they thought I looked too young.
When I started in my career, I was young. I was young. And I did, woo, and I did get some underhanded underhanded comments like that. Kind of like, oh wow, you look like you could be my daughter. Wow, you look like you could be my granddaughter. And I worked in a facility that had a lot more Caucasian women. And so my older Caucasian women would oftentimes say things like that. And it's, you, yeah, that's a layered conversation. I'm
It
really
is.
trying to filter through what I say.
It is. It,
But even for my colleagues, I've definitely experienced some ageism in the beginning of my career from colleagues who were basically like, there's nothing you can teach me about this, you know, kind of making comments about the fact that even though I was young and I had this advanced training, that there is nothing I can teach them because they've been in the field for so much more years.
longer than
And
you
so
have.
I, not just from patients, but also from colleagues, you do get ageism, you do get racism, and in some cases, you get
Microaggressions,
sexism. Yeah,
implicit bias, all of that.
all of
Tessa, can I
that.
support what you're saying one time? Dang it. Never mind. I just
It'll
lost my
come
damn
back.
point. Like I had something to contribute to what you were saying. Damn it.
It'll come back.
Well, I'll say,
Mhm.
Okay, yes. Sorry,
um,
Trissa.
it's all right. My experiences have not been, well, okay. My first job was working in a public hospital in New York City.
Mhm.
And though one of the supervisors was Caucasian female, maybe one or two of the other staff members were Caucasians,
Mhm.
male and female. Majority of the staff were people of color, meaning like Filipino, Spanish, Latin, I'd say, and then Black. So it was not a whole lot amongst colleagues. And, just in a bit of a disrespectful way, PT was seen as the back to bed service on some of the units. Like they'd call you to take the patient out of bed and call you to put the patient back in. Like that's your only job to do. But I don't know if that necessarily had anything to do with the fact that the majority of us are people of color. It's just, okay, this is PT and we know they're going to mobilize them. Let's do this.
Mhm.
But I will say that it cracks me up now. Most of my patients then probably didn't have a whole lot of time to ask any questions about my qualifications or anything along those lines. It
Mhm.
was either I'm keeping you from totally hurting yourself, or I'm trying to help you get up and move around in a way that you really haven't been and can't do. So, you had a stroke, whatever the case may be. Now I get some of the questions a bit. And in my current space, it's a bit more mixed. So where I was, yes, you get Caucasians, but you'd probably get them on the poor end of the schedule. You probably get more of the spectrum. You'd get
Mhm.
more homeless people, definitely people of different ethnicities. So we saw a huge Chinese population. We saw a huge Eastern European population, whether Russian or Jewish. And I'm talking about not Jewish, sorry, Russian or Polish. I'm talking about the ones that really don't speak English. So communication is so hard. Where I am now, it's a lot more of, I would say Caucasian and then Latin and Black. But my issues or my headbutts usually come up most with my Latin patients because,
Mhm.
and I know that there's a desire, there's a need to be able to understand and be understood,
Mhm.
but they will catch a serious attitude with me because I'm not Latin.
Mhm.
So
It's interesting.
Straight up, and they'll come in and it's like, okay, the front desk person spoke to them in Spanish, their paperwork and everything was in Spanish. I call their name and I try my best not to butcher it,
Mhm.
and I generally do, and I'd have them come back and they're looking at me like, do you speak Spanish? And they're saying it's all in Spanish, like if you don't speak Spanish, I'm just gonna go find another clinic that does have a Spanish speaking therapist.
Mm.
And no, I'm in no way, shape, or form fluent, but
Mhm.
I can conduct basic questions in Spanish. And
Mhm.
so, of course, once I start talking to them and they realize my willingness to try,
Mhm.
it becomes all friendly. All of a sudden, I gain new friends, but
Mhm.
it's always that stand first. But
Mhm.
I think one of the other things that tends to, I don't know if it's to say smooths my path, is the fact that I'm bigger than half of these people. I'm 5'11". I'm almost 260 pounds. They don't really look at me too crazy. It's like, oh, I'm working with her. Yes, you're working with me. Sometimes they can get a little bit afraid, like they don't know what's going to happen. But then when I start putting my hands on them and I'm really gentle, it's like, oh, well, that feels good. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. And they calm down. But the interesting thing, you're talking about them giving references. Like, I love when they start throwing in things about like what the doctor says and what the doctor says, because as you all know me, I go by Trissa. So they start talking about and oh yes, the doctor this and doctor that and blah 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 blah. And very rarely do I have to then throw in and be like, yep, I'm also a doctor. And it's just like, oh, well, I mean,
People don't know
yeah, no,
that
I know
though,
what you
Dr.
mean.
Job. People don't know that about PT. I don't think that's common knowledge.
But one of the reasons why I don't always say it is because not every PT is a doctor.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of us that have graduated within the past 10 or 15 years. Some may have come out of school directly with a doctorate. Some, like me, got a master's first and went back and did a doctorate. But we have some clinicians that have been around for 30 years that do not have doctorates. So we make the clear distinction to say, yes, we are PTs. I am a doctor of physical therapy. I have a colleague who is a doctor of physical therapy, but I also have one who's not. So when we start talking about it, we make it very clear to the patients,
Mhm.
this is how it is, or whatever the case may be. I mean, most times, the experience of that 30-year clinician is going to have a lot to play in working with the patients, as much or sometimes even more than having this doctorate, if you're just coming out of school. But there are different things that we're learning coming up of age. But they do come up sometimes with this, and it becomes this kind of shock. And it's like, I'm not a tech. I know what I'm doing. I have trained on this.
Speaking of which, I mean, I have definitely, let me tell you, I've definitely worn a white coat, and no disrespect to any of the healthcare workers in any aspect of healthcare. I'm just saying that I'm referencing people's tendency to only categorize women of color and women in general, number
Mhm.
one, but definitely women of color who are doctors who have advanced degrees. I've been asked several times, what can I get for my lunch today? What is on the menu today? I have definitely been asked, can you help me turn over in the bed? Not as a doctor, but with the anticipation that I'm a nurse. Or
Mhm.
can you help me? Are you here to clean out the bathroom with a white coat on, with my
Mhm.
name on my coat? And none of that ever matters. And so sometimes it really is a challenge, because to your point with the Latina population, that you're experiencing some challenges in terms of the language barrier. Sometimes I do have to remind myself and think to myself, what could have been the experience that led
Mhm.
to that response, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
we all have experiences when it comes to healthcare, not just as clinicians, but even as patients. I could tell you some stories even to this day. What is today's date? Yeah, to this day, I can tell you some stories about my own healthcare
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my own experiences of shortcomings of the healthcare system as a physician. And
Yeah.
so it always makes me to think, like, what has been the experience? Because
Mhm.
I will definitely ascertain that there probably are several experiences by the time women walk into the clinic, and You know, even the ones with the attitude who have that wall up that you have to break through, is because that wall is up for a reason. That person's been hurt several times with the healthcare system. And so sometimes, you know, it does hurt a little bit when I feel like, man, sister, I'm trying to help you out. I
Amen.
get it.
Amen.
I get
Amen.
it, you know?
It's
Amen. That's
task
why
is
the first thing I do when I walk into an exam room is sit down so that the power dynamic changes. They're above me. Because I'm like,
Mhm.
look, I'm not here to fight you. I'm not here to fight you.
I sit down because I'm
task is
tired, but
something
I'm
that
like
you
that.
say that. I'm sorry, task. Say that again.
No, I'm being stupid. I said I sit down because I'm tired. No, that's the truth. I sit down because I'm tired, but it does help the dynamics. I agree with you, sister. I sit down because I'm tired.
Task is something that you had said.
Yeah.
Something that you said. We filter even we're not allowed or we like you filtered yourself like you had something to say in regards to an experience that you had and you even filter yourself amongst friends on your own platform or it's something that you created and that just made me think of something like the energy it takes to
Mm,
be a Black woman, a Latina woman, or another person of color, just to the energy that expends just to exist in this world, not to have the full range of your emotions is
mm,
very tiresome. And it
yes.
somebody correct me on this quote from James Baldwin. It's like if you are a conscious person, a
Oh.
Black person in America, to be a conscious Black person in America is to live in a constant state of rage, is
Mhm.
because we are not afforded the full range of our emotions.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Dr. Moore,
Mhm.
even in your own area right now in safety amongst girlfriends, and we've all done it, we felt a certain way and then we just like catch it and we filter it, we divert, change the subject, or and this is a skill that we have assessed is we
Yes.
monitor our Blackness, our brownness, all
Yes.
of that within seconds,
Bigness,
not to be
everything.
perceived as the angry Black woman or
Yes.
loud Latina or something like that. Like that is so hurtful to me because
Spicy. I always get told I'm
mm,
spicy.
spicy or
Mm,
sassy, whatever it may be, we're not afforded that ability to have our full range of emotions. Like we
Mhm.
have a right to be freaking mad in this
mhm,
Right.
existence today.
Mhm.
mhm,
You know, you have a right to be mad.
Mhm.
And we filter ourselves even amongst like we've been conditioned
mhm.
Yes,
to accept the fact that we don't have full range of our emotions and I'm just say this and it's a very and that's the mind I'm trying to re-educate myself to is to show up authentically and speak up
Mhm.
more than I
Mhm.
do.
I'm gonna piggyback on you because I'm gonna say being a woman of color, health worker, or provider is also very lonely. So
Mm,
in 2016, I think it was when Philando Castile and Alton
mm,
Mm,
Sterling and all this clump of unarmed Black men were shot by police. I remember I would go to work every day and nobody talked about it. It was like it
mhm,
wasn't happening. And I remember I was carrying all of these emotions, and my brother
Mhm.
had been pulled over like a couple of days before then, and he
Mhm.
like was so scared that he was gonna be dead for no reason. He's never been a criminal. He was just walking down the street. And so I'm carrying all of this. And I remember thinking, wow, how nice that it is not, nobody's talking about it, that it's not affecting anybody.
Right.
Fast forward to this year with, oh my God, with Floyd.
George Floyd.
Sorry,
Hmm.
George
thank you,
Yes.
Floyd.
Lord.
Yes.
Thank you, with George Floyd. And I
Mhm.
remember, I can't remember what day it was. It was in the middle of, the height of the BLM protest and all the protesting. And I remember walking to work one day and feeling like I did not want to be there. And like if somebody even kind of asked me any kind of question, I would probably break down in tears.
Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
I was remember telling myself, I don't think I can keep doing this. I can't do this shit anymore. I cannot pretend like
Mhm.
there are things happening and like it's not happening. And so I
Right.
remember I walked into the clinic and somebody asked me and I just kind of told them, and everybody responded appropriately. Everybody was like, yes, girl, and all of these things, and nobody was offended, and there wasn't like this racial tension that had been there 3 years before. or 2 years, it was
Mhm.
2016, 4 years before, where it was like people weren't, there was still a lot of like, is this even real? Is this even happening? So the reason I'm saying is because in that moment, I didn't feel so alone anymore, even though I was still the only Black person, right?
Mhm.
I didn't feel so alone anymore because at least now it did feel like there were allies and who people who
Acknowledgement.
wanted to like, yeah, acknowledgement and people who wanted to share that with you. I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not pretend like nothing was happening. And
Right.
Yeah,
so
but it's
in my
interesting because
experience, it felt very lonely.
that's interesting, Olivia, because it almost sounds like, and I totally agree with you that I oftentimes feel like where I am and my position in terms of my emotion is really dependent on the environment. And so
Mhm.
they permitted the safety net for you to be able to express those emotions because they have had evolved to the point where they felt comfortable enough to allow you to do that.
Right.
And it really shouldn't necessarily be like that. It should be that we should be able to walk in one day and be like, man, that is messed up. Y'all know that's as far as I get with the cursing. I was really trying to figure out a word that go close enough, but y'all know what I'm saying. That's really how it is. And I oftentimes I've been in the boardroom. I have oftentimes felt like I am the voice, especially when we get to those statistics. We work in an underserved community, so the statistics are often us. And
Yes.
Right. And that's so
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
and if you're the only person in that room and you're
Right.
talking about some outcome and some stats, and it's like that silence in the room where they're like, yes, and African American women are more likely to have hypertension more than their counterpart Caucasians. What you got to say about that?
I know. That's what I mean. That's what
Like,
I
I'm
mean. You're
not
like,
the
oh, we
representative for the whole race.
oh, we
Mhm.
Like, don't do that.
Expensive.
Oh, no.
Being a voice for everything that affects the and that's to make it seem like our community is monolithic, and we clearly have learned from
We're not.
this highly political year that we are clearly not monolithic.
We are.
Latinos, Latinx are not monolithic, blacks are not monolithic. This year has made that very clear for everyone, so stop asking us to be the voice for everybody, because we just not.
Yay.
And that's just the way it is. But how do you feel sometimes when you're challenged by people who look like you?
Hey, you guys, it's Dr. T hopping on here for what? A quick minute. We just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us on this platform. Make sure you check out our other videos. Lots of great topics, lots of great laughter. We have a good time, but we also share great information. Our passion is to make sure that you are living your best life. So make sure you check out our other videos. Share this platform with your girlfriends, with your best friends, with your good friends, with your not so good friends. Share it with everybody. And make sure that they follow us as well and join our community. Thank you for being a part of our community. This is our community together as women, and we hope that you are enjoying this journey with us. We just want to make sure that you know that we appreciate you. Make sure you follow along with us for the new year, and we have great topics, hot topics, sizzling topics, topics you want to talk about for 2021. And we just want to wish you an amazing, a bright and better 2021, being the best you. Love you guys. See you later.